I wanted to make a super quick video here. If you've seen some of my other vehicles, I have a LBZ Duramax. And the other day I turned on the HVAC and my fan went from slow to fast on its own. Shut the control head off, didn't change anything. Turned the truck off and it still stayed on high. This is something we see every now and then in the industry. Normally it's on the auto HVAC, and these in a normal vehicle we would call this a blower resistor, but it's a control module in this. You know, a module meaning it's got some computer thinking inside of it, more so than your typical relay would, or resistor in this case. This one's a Carter 6100. So when you go to look these up on the parts sites, normally they pop up with, you know, they'll ask you auto or non-auto, and then they'll ask you a 2-bolt hole or 4, I think it is 2 or 4. So you'll order the 4, you know, there's 4 bolt holes there, and it'll show up with, I think, 7-pin connector here. Obviously not accurate. And some of them will come with a pigtail, because they burn the pigtail on those style resistors quite often from the blower motor pulling too many amperage or amps. At any rate, so you start googling around and you can find this on the internet pretty easily, but I wanted to just talk about it. This thing has power, ground, and then a signal wire from the control head. So it's 3 wires in and 2 wires out, 5 wire. So you do some googling, and GM has an retrofit or an update kit. I guess I shouldn't call it a retrofit, because it's not, you're not going to the 7-pin style. It's a 5-pin connector. You are going to have to do some splicing. This 2-pin connector will plug into your blower motor. Straightforward. These 3, this is super easy to do. We're going to splice red to red, black to black, purple to purple. Not too crazy. GM's always good about sticking with color codes. And then our new module will be this style. So updated kit, updated design. I'm assuming they had a lot of issues with the other ones, although this one's not a ton different. It does come with diagrams, instructions, that kind of thing. Some schematics on the second page, I think. If I can fold it open here. Oh, just different languages for all the bilingual folk. So I wanted to talk for a second about what we do, what we consider quality repair, as far as splicing wires. Sometimes we see crazy stuff in the industry. Wire knots, scotch locks, I think they used to call them, where they cut through, pinch into the wire. You know, they'll, like, you squeeze them with the pliers and they pinch in. In my opinion, those are trash and should never have been invented. So we'll talk about, I'll talk about a couple different ways, in a non high moisture environment. These can be okay. Under the dash, I'm okay with this under the dash. Still tape it up when you're done, protect it as best you can. These ones are alright. These are better choice. These, you crimp them and then you heat them up with a heat gun or a lighter of some sort. Just gotta be careful. They have an epoxy in them and it'll melt the epoxy out. The one thing I will say on these, and I see this all the time, fuel pump repairs under vehicles, taillight repairs, when you crimp them, it normally cuts this insulation where you crimp it. So it's not 100% sealed. This isn't 100%. People think they do this and this is it. This is, you know, zero issues from that point on, and the reality of it is it's not. So something to be aware of with these. They work good, but you got to be cautious. I use these under dash work primarily for two reasons. One, you get a good solid crimp, and with that epoxy, when you heat it up and the glue comes out, it helps hold the wires. So if something did tug on it, there's one more layer of protection there from yanking a wire out. I don't have any, we're in the process of moving, so the rest of my electrical stuff's packed up. My preferred method is, I call it like the Ford method. If you buy any connectors from Ford, they come with crimp metal piece, which is just like what's inside of this. It's just like that metal piece that's buried inside of there. You crimp it on the wire, and then it comes with insulation with this same epoxy. They're black. I think they call it marine grade or something like that. Shrink wrap, and you slide it over, do your crimp, slide it back over the crimp, and then heat it up and glue it down. In my opinion, that is the best repair for wiring. I also want to talk for a second about soldering. There's a reason why you don't see solder joints aside from circuit boards in the OE. When you solder a joint, if you solder a piece of wire, it work hardens the wire, I think is the term. Correct me if I'm wrong in the notes on the term of that. So if you solder it right there, the odds of it breaking right next to that solder is really good. I've had solder joints break on me before. There are instances where they're preferred, but always know your circuit, know the situation, and know that that's what they want you to do. Unless it says specifically that's the right way to do it, I prefer a crimp and some form of epoxy on top of it. So I just have my cell phone with me here, so I'm not going to record filming this. I guess I'll talk for a quick second about how to gain access to it. I did a little bit of a cheap method here. I just pulled down the one side, 7mm screws up underneath this plastic panel here, but there's more of them. I think there's 3 screws total on these trucks, one way over there, one up under here, right where my finger is, and then that third one here. But if you know what you're looking at and know what you're chasing after, you can just squeeze it down like that. The blower motor or blower resistor bolts right there covers that hole. The fins of the resistor go up inside that, and it helps keep it cool. The connector for the blower motor is right here, but on the back side of it, so you got to reach around and get to that. So yeah, I guess I'll pause you and I'll wire it up, and then we'll see if I'm right.